Welcome back. Now, the presidency has yet to respond to reports that 2 and possibly 3 SABC board members have resigned. One of the only confirmations coming through from the DA that said that Khanyisile Kweyama and John Mattison had resigned. It's also been reported that Krish Naidu, another SABC board member, has resigned. So to discuss, we're joined by the head of policy program at Media Monitoring Africa, Thandi Smith. We're also joined on the line by a PR specialist, Makhosini Nkosi. Welcome to you both. Let me start with you, Thandi. So huge instability at the SABC. Now we hear these reports. Surely somebody should be talking.
Absolutely. It's. Let me be clear. This is one of the worst crises that we've seen at the SABC in years.
And there's been many.
And exactly, there've been many. You know, it's. I think everyone's waiting with bated breath around what's actually happening with these resignation letters and whether the president will accept them or not. I haven't myself read the resignation letters. That I want to do so, I will do so. But like you say, it's until we actually have them confirmed by the presidency that they have been received, we can only take on what is being reported at the moment.
Makhosini, on the line, do you find this incredible?
It is that there is poor communication around this matter, which is very important for the nation and for the employees of the SABC who are feeling uncertain at the moment. I think the SABC could handle this matter better. In fact, the entire orbit of government, the minister and everybody that is responsible could have handled this matter much better.
Well, the SABC was speaking yesterday saying that it couldn't really comment because this is really for the presidency to talk about. But is that a missed opportunity to at least say we're doing our best while we wait for this to be confirmed, that we're doing our best to stabilize the ship?
Look, I think this tells me that there is a big gap between the board of the SABC and government. One can't escape that conclusion. So in a situation like that, it becomes difficult because both parties don't know what to say because they cannot come out on air and tell you that they are fighting over this issue.
Do you agree with that, Thandi?
No, I think that at this point, it's the responsibility of the minister and the president to either tell us what's going on with the resignations, whether they accept it or not, and the minister to officially retract her statement of non-engagement with the SABC. Yes, there's a gap because she said, well, because the Section 189 notice is not being retracted and the issue with retrenchments, we all know what's going on with that she's not engaging with the board, that's absolutely juvenile behavior, and we if anything, we need constructive engagement and we need the board to do its job.
We can't clarify it, but there are other reports that some board members were appalled at the way the minister was treated. But I guess if nobody's speaking, we just don't know.
Exactly, we don't know. And let me be clear, we've got one more position on the board that if there's a resignation, the board will not be quorate. What that means is that we then have an interim board being placed at the SABC just before an election period is detrimental to the electoral process, is detrimental to the independence of the broadcaster and elections in general. With that, portfolio committee are able to place whoever they see fit to be on the board. And at this point, given the crises that the SABC is in, we see that as not being a great option.
Could the presidency be trying to manage this, maybe trying to convince them not to resign? Could that be a reason for silence?
Well, I mean, yes, but also the president needs to give us a good reason why he's not giving the guarantee, the financial guarantee and National Treasury. I mean, at the moment, that will give the board the security it needs to complete the next couple of months, to put measures in place and to go through the legitimate processes that it needs to go through to stabilize the institution.
Makhosini, do you believe that is a crucial issue here? I mean, the public has little appetite for bailouts, let's be clear, for state-owned companies, but the SABC clearly needs help. Are we going to save it or not? That is the question.
Look, I think there's a lot of things that the SABC board can look at if it wants to cut costs. I mean, if you look at your office's in Cape Town. They are right in the middle of Sea Point, prime property. I don't know why the SABC needs that property. I think you can get cheaper offices elsewhere. I think you can look at the properties that the SABC owns and see if, for instance, you can't derive any cash out of that. But also you could look at other possible, cost-cutting measures that you can include employees of the SABC on. I think that the communication here is very poor. I think the board is coming out as just being determined to retrench people and that they're not looking at any other option. I think that could very well be a communication issue, but it makes the SABC board seem callous and tone deaf, particularly at a time when there's rising unemployment in the country and there's general high cost of living. To add more to the unemployment, it's not something that government would be comfortable with, and I don't think it's the right thing to do.
Well, Thandi, maybe you can comment on that because others would say this is a necessity. Government before, for previous bailouts, insisted on restructuring. So politicians themselves aren't sure if the SABC should restructure, maybe necessary, or just try and cling to jobs and have the same problem down the line.
Yeah. I mean, we are in a position with SABC where the board has inherited a essentially really bad governable institution. We know that we've come out of a 2-3 year very dark period with the public broadcaster. And we come out of a period where salaries were inflated, where positions were inflated, where positions were given where they should not have been. And so there have been decisions and things put in place that need to be dealt with. Yes, there can be other cutting costs. Yes, the property issues, yes, it needs to be looked at, but an entire restructuring of the funding model needs to be looked at. And we are seeing work around that. But that's a long-term solution. That's something that takes time. Cost-cutting measures, having investigations into where the finances are going wrong, that takes time. The guarantee at the moment is a quick win that will stabilize the SABC at this point to allow those processes to happen.
While this is important, could this actually be about the 2019 elections? There is speculation, rife speculation, that this board may be too independent for government.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that we cannot put it past the question of whose interests does this serve, having a board that is not an independent board that is able to do the work that they've been doing. You have to ask yourself, what political interests are driving the minister making directives at board meetings? What political interests drive having an interim board put in place? Where it's an interim board at this point is the worst thing that could happen to the institution. Why is that why is our worst case scenario being made a reality?
Makhosini, you can comment on the politics. This is a good board, ex-journalists, people who understand business. In my opinion, it seems to have the caliber that the SABC needs. Surely this could lead to speculation that there's politics at play.
Look, I am reluctant to believe that. I think that President Ramaphosa is trying very hard, and I think with his cabinet they're trying very hard to reverse the difficulties and the problems that we had in the past. And I think that, the appointment of independent-minded people to occupy positions at the SABC is, a signal to that this government wants to do better. I think for as long as there is this issue of pending retrenchment, that the board doesn't seem to want to budge on, and government, for political reasons, of course, wouldn't want for there to be retrenchments at the SABC. So I don't think that this is a way of trying to interfere with the editorial work of the SABC. I think the SABC has been doing very well. I think the ANC itself does not have a reason to be unhappy with the SABC at this time. And I'm saying this as a political consultant.
All right, and then let's end with you, Thandi. Some would say that the model just doesn't work. So government wants the SABC to be commercial but not fire people if they need to be public but not fully funded.
I think we need to reflect on the last time that we had political interference at the SABC, which brought us Thandi Smith. you know, and this seems to be a reverse of all the good work that is being done to go back to having that sort of governance at the institution. It's a crisis that is going to lead the public broadcaster to get turned into a state broadcaster, and we're doing everything we can to stop that.
All right, thank you for your time this evening. That was the Head of Policy Program at Media Monitoring Africa, Thandi Smith, and Communications Consultant Makhosini Nkosi. As soon as we have word from the presidency, any confirmation or disconfirmation of those resignations, we'll bring that to you.